We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. What does Gervonta Tank Davis feel about two people he fought, Esau Pitbull Cruz and Lamont Roach, fighting each other to a draw? I don't know. But I will tell you what he said before the fight in this video. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Now, I must admit it feels good to be me because I provide you, the viewers, with an awesome experience and information you can take to the bank. Now, the $1 million question is Gervonta Davis. What does he feel about two of his former foes, his most recent opponent in Lamont Roach, where he fought to a draw, having a back-to-back, another draw, right? And I'm sure Tank will come out and say stuff about the fight at some point. But I want to focus on something that occurred, and in this video, that's what I'll break down. So they fought to a draw. It was a good fight. I was entertained by the fight. And the reality is I went over this and did a detailed, unpacked what really happened video. It is up to you to subscribe to my channel and watch the content, because some of them is kind of like a prequel and a sequel. There's kind of parts to this. So we just got through the fight. Watch that first part where I did the breakdown of the fight. Then you got to watch part 2 where I explained why this is Lamont Roach's fight. It is his fault that the fight played out like it did. I truly believe that. And I did a detailed video explaining that. And watch that video, but I got some additional things regarding Tank. Tank warned Lamont Roach and told the public of what it was with Pitbull Cruz, period. Now, I know what the fans are saying. They're like, but Ego, whatever do you mean? Let me explain. Tank fought Pitbull Cruz. It was a close, contested fight. He hurt his hand. Boom. This is Tank the day after, and you see that his knuckles are completely rounded and swollen. He hurt his hand fighting Esau Pitbull Cruz, right? Now, the difference between me and a lot of other content creators, a lot of people just talk about it and tell you what's going on or what they think is going on. I don't just talk about it. I show you receipts. This is a picture of Tank's hand post-fight Esau Pitbull Cruz, right? Receipts, because there's no refuting receipts. Receipts. You know your boy Ego got to come in with receipts. And if you enjoy content like this, where I give you guys the receipts, ESPN, I don't just talk about it, I'll be about it. Gervonta Davis injures his hand, but retains his WBA title in a tough decision versus Esau Pitbull Cruz. Gervonta Davis shot to stardom with the support of Mayweather. Tank had Mayweather, blah, blah, blah. Tank says, quote, I hurt my hand, right? You guys see it. I hurt my hand, so I couldn't get him out of there, meaning Pitbull Cruz. He barely threw his left hand in the final 2 rounds, it says. Pitbull is a shorter fighter, so I was throwing down on the top of his head. I hit him with my knuckle and messed it up, and I hurt my hand in the 6th round. Pitbull Cruz says, it was right around the 5th round that I saw that Gervonta's hand was not working correctly, right? The extent of the injury and how it impacted him is unclear. I just showed you a picture. His hand was completely shot and swollen, right? So on and so forth. So Pitbull lived up to his name, and he fights the same way each and every time, right? Floyd Mayweather says, they wanted Tank to knock this guy out, said Floyd Mayweather. Since he didn't get the knockout tonight, now they're saying he lost. It's bullshit. right? Finally, Tank says, I got to get the hand checked out. It is what it is, and it comes with the sport of boxing. So that is 100% proof positive from Gervonta Davis of Pitbull. He has a hard head. He was like, he's hard-headed, and it is what it is. He's durable, and punching him, he could take a punch. Punching him, you see the picture. I hurt my hand. So I fully support my earlier video where I blame Lamont Roach for what happened to Lamont Roach. This is completely your fault that you didn't get a division, a new division, a title, and become a champion again because of how you fought. You tried to trade with Pitbull Cruz when the blueprint was already out from a one-handed Tank Davis, which was then copied by El Rayo. And it's very apparent the guys trying to trade with Pitbull Cruz, they don't have as much success. The guys who box his head off, they make him look silly. Lamont Roach went out there despite the lessons that were before him and fought the way he did. So you get what you get. And I'm happy for it. Make the rematch, make adjustments, and so on and so forth. Tank already told you what was up. Like, here's an example. If a guy goes into a cave and you hear him scream and he never comes back out, right? And he's part of your group, you're going to go in that cave? You know what I mean? Or same example. Guy goes into a cave, you hear him scream, and he runs out like he's seen a ghost and he's frantic. He said, I don't know what's in there. Something chased me and it almost got me. And he has scratches on his back, yada, yada, yada. And he narrowly escapes whatever was in this cave. I think that's an even better example. You're going into that cave, right? You're going to go in that cave after he just told you there was something in there. I don't know what it was because it was dark and it started growling and chasing me. His eyes were red and glowing. You're a fool, and you deserve everything you got coming to you if you then say, you know what, do, Scooby-Dooby-Doo, and then you go into that same cave when the people before you let you know what it was, right? Point blank, period. Lamont Roach had people before him that already fought the same guy, and he went out there pre-fight. He was like, I want to be the first to stop Pitbull Cruz. This is the problem with this new generation. Again, to a degree, to be a fighter, you got to be a little bit delusional, right? I don't have no problem with that. But pure delusion, that is on you. Because here's what I've noticed with these new fighters. And it's the guys that have no power, they always overcompensate, right? Or less power. We'll say less power. They always do too much and overcompensate. Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Lamont Roach. Your style is your style. You guys are more boxers. But you listen pre-fight. Devin Haney was like, Ryan, what if I knock you out in the first round? Devin's dad, Bill Haney, was like, we gonna off him. We gonna unalive Ryan Garcia. This is gonna be the last you're gonna hear of Ryan Garcia. Stand in the center of the ring and trade. And then when they did that, Ryan Garcia was left hooking him up and hurting Devin, right? When Shakur Stevenson was like, I'm fighting Artem Harutyunyan, I'm gonna stop this guy. I'm gonna knock him out. I'm gonna knock him out. I'm gonna knock him out. All he was talking about was a knockout. In the pre-build, in between the rounds, go watch the fight. Don't take my word for it. Go watch the Shakur Harutyunyan fight. And he was talking about getting a knockout. I'm going to knock this guy out. Oh, I can feel the knockout coming. And guess what? You hurt him and you couldn't pull the trigger and finish the job. These fighters, these new fighters, they talk too much. And they don't have the killer instinct that their mouth has, that they think they have. They act like they Kobe Bryant, they Michael Jordan, and they close the show, and then they really don't. And I attribute that to not being who you really are as a fighter. Point blank, period. The best way in boxing to get knocked out, if anybody wants to get knocked out, is chasing a knockout. So similarly, the guys that are like have minimal power and they keep talking about a knockout, you notice 9 times out of 10, the stuff they said in the pre-fight does not happen. You would have at least a better chance of making that stuff happen if you didn't profess that you were going to knock these people out, right? Literally, Lamont Roach kept talking about being the first person to stop Pitbull Cruz when the blueprint was already set by the people before you, mostly Gervonta Davis, and he fought with one hand. Now, Lamont Roach, and I'll play the clip for you again, even though I already played it in my last video. Lamont Roach is talking about his hand hurt.
I honestly don't remember like what exactly did it, but I know when I came back to that corner, I told him, I said, man, I think I broke my hand, and I knew like when I came out the next round, he jabbed me and I like blocked it, and it hurt, and I was like, it's fucked. So, you know, I still continued to try to throw it. Like you said, it was openings, but my hand was really hurting, and I'm not trying to make that as an excuse. I used everything else I had, and I succeeded. I did well. I got out of the way of his punches for the most part, and when I wanted to exchange, I was winning the exchanges. Other than that, I was catching the punches and slipping his punches. I just don't, you know, I don't want to make this an excuse. I think I did well enough to win with one hand.
And
I think I did well enough to win. Well, guess what? You didn't, and you got to draw, and that's that. Point blank, period. So Lamont, again, has only himself to blame. You fell victim to the same thing that already happened, and the evidence was already out there. You're looking, since I've been doing the video, you see the picture of Tank's hand on the screen, and he already told you what was up. The guy got a hard head, he's durable, and you went out there trying to fight like Rambo, like Bradley did, Tim Bradley versus Ruslan Provodnikov, and then you had a busted up lip, right, post-fight, and you didn't get the belt. So, yeah, I firmly stand on what I said. I mean what I said. I mean every word. I think I've never been a fan of people who have skill and then they undermine their skill and then they fight to fight down, like dumb it down. Me, I don't have this problem. Like, for example, when I was rapping, I'm a lyrical rapper. It's what I am. It's what I like. It's what I do. It's how I write. Punchlines, metaphors. You know, you might not get it first listen. I don't rap for people who aren't intelligent, that can't put it together or do the research to connect the dots. I just watched an interview where Trick Daddy, girl, you know Nan ninja like me, right? Trick Daddy was like, I hated the movie Sinners, which I loved the movie Sinners. Shout out to Kugler, Bay Area. Yay! Right? And he was like, I didn't like the movie Sinners. Just spell it out for me. I don't want to have to put nothing together. He was like, just like music and rap, I don't want to have to deal with complex metaphors and understand what you're saying. Put some Beezies in your video and just say some hood stuff. Again, that I know a lot of people like that in real life too. They need it spoon-fed. They don't want to have to think and use their brain for a movie or for a song. You know, they're like, oh, that Eminem song wasn't dope. Or I didn't like what Nas said. That wasn't that dope to me. Because Nas and Eminem, they're not mumble rappers. So it takes a little bit of brain power to process or know the analogy or the historic fact or whatever they said in the song. You know what I mean? You can't, for me, when I'm lyrical, I don't care about people like Trick Daddy. You're not going to like it, you're not going to like it. I know what I said was hard. And anybody who knows lyrics knows what I said was hard. So for the few people that don't get it, then that's on them. And boxing should be no different. Be who you are. Now, there's times like if you like, let's say rap, you're doing a song, you don't want to get too lyrical, spiritual, miracle, serial killer, you know, you don't want to get too like wordy on certain songs. Like if you're on a chick song, you might not need to like go spiritual, lyrical, miracle, stereo in your stereo. You know what I mean? You don't need to do that. But if it's a song like a cypher beat where you could just get off, then get off. Period. So I ain't never had this problem in my niches. The things that I do good, I double down on them and I continue to do them well, like YouTube, like content creation. I continue to do that and focus and improve on my craft. These other fighters, Gen Z fighters, they do a lot of jaw jacking before the fight, and then they never live up to all the stuff that they said pre-fight. What happened to Lamont Roach talking about Drawmont Roach? What happened to Drawmont Roach talking about, I'm going to be the first to knock him out? If anything, he came closer to knocking you out when he had you moonwalking backwards into the ropes and then jumped on you. Fight to your strengths. That is the message that I'm saying. And it becomes even easier when you have pioneers before you that tell you, like Tank warned, Pitbull got a hard head. And I give Tank more credit than Lamont Roach. Here's why. Because Tank is not a weight bully. Tank is not significantly bigger than Pitbull Cruz, right? He was a little bit taller, but he's not like brolic. Like he's in shape, but he's not like massy. You know, he's not wide. Lamont Roach looked big. He looked big at the weigh-in. He came in a pound heavier than Pitbull Cruz. He clearly was taller than Pitbull Cruz. He looked big. I don't know what his fight weight is. And he did worse than Tank Davis. You both had one hand, so you had that in common. And Tank did better because Tank didn't have no busted lip. His lip didn't look all fat like you when you fought him. He didn't get knocked down and stumbly and getting hit with these big shots. Tank was switched on. When his hands started hurting, he was like, all right, in my boxing bag, jab, jab, ow, that punch hurt my left hand. And he's a southpaw. Tank Davis is a southpaw. So his lead hand, his major moneymaker was hurt. And he still performed better than you. And Pitbull only had one loss. You had the Tank loss, a loss before that, and El Rayo beat Pitbull. And you had these 3 fights to show you a game plan of how to beat this man. And you did worse than Tank for sure. Because I'm going to give credit to the guy like Tank who's not that big and doesn't have a fat lip, didn't get rocked and pushed around the ring and all that type of stuff. So Tank absolutely deserves more credit for how he handled Pitbull with one hand as opposed to Roachy, right? Roach, again, 40% knockout ratio, yet pre-fight, he's talking like he's Gennady Golovkin. Hey, no, guys, hey, Max, guys, is nothing. Like he just got the most power the game done seen. This is why you keep drawing out. This is why your last 2 fights are draws. And see, to be honest, I'm not him. I can't tell you what the future holds for him, right? What does that say? Kidney punch. Cruz deducted a point for a kidney punch. See, the ref was weird. It says Cruz got deducted a punt for a kidney punch. I thought he deducted a point for holding. So that's news to me. The ref did not make it clear. Anyway, see, that just made me mad. Anywho, what I'm saying is this. The bottom line is this. You have back-to-back draws, you need to look inward, period. As a fighter, you need to look at what am I doing and or not doing that keeps putting me in a position where the judges don't see it. See, you would have been better off having a Tank draw and then beating Pitbull Cruz. Because then you could just say, you could still scream, oh man, the judges robbed me. But when you have back-to-back performances that are almost identical or the outcome is identical in nature, it's kind of a you problem. Because clearly you're doing well, but you're not doing everything kind of needed in order to convince the judges. That becomes a you problem. Like, okay, here's an example. I work for myself, so I don't really worry about this. When am I going to look in the mirror and fire myself? I do what I want. But let's say I worked a typical 9 to 5, right? I work a typical 9 to 5 and I get fired. Then I get a new job, completely different company. And then in my 90 days, I get fired. At that point, I can blame the man. I could blame these companies. But if you got fired from Apple in 90 days, you got fired from Microsoft in 90 days, you got fired from Target in 90 days. At that point, you got to look at it as this is now a pattern. I can't just keep blaming these companies because they're completely different entities, yet the end result still has me fired each and every time. I'm real big on accountability, and that's where it stands. Lamont Roach, it sounds good to just say, oh, the judges, when they going to give me a fair shake, woe is me. But you really got to look at what you're doing in fights and what you're not doing in fights to really see. And again, for me, is what Lamont Roach is doing and not doing. You're not showing enough separation and you're fighting the wrong fight. Recipe for disaster on the scorecard. You knew Pitbull Cruz was the favorite. You knew Gervonta Davis was the favorite. You didn't knock down Tank. You didn't knock down Pitbull Cruz, right? And you're gallivanting like you're the biggest puncher, and you're not. You know what I mean? While Tank is having flashy shots, Pitbull Cruz had flashy shots, and then when it doesn't work out for you, you're like, man, it's all about these judges. I just want a fair shake. He really set himself back. And even when they were showing the highlights, they were showing some good clips of Pitbull Cruz, like this one. The man doing the nay-nay. Peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly, peanut butter jelly with a soda on the side, right? He had you like really spinning backwards. So, yeah, he boxed well in spots, but then there are spots where you're getting cracked up like this, and then you wonder why it don't go your way. Again, Errol Spence, Frank Martin, Mr. Gary Russell Jr., they all said you lost a close fight. So you can't really cry. I don't like that robbery talk. When people, oh, it's a robbery. It ain't no robbery. You in a pro-Mexican, pro-Pitbull crowd, and you getting stunned and rocked up and hit with unnecessary shots. When you're, look at him, when you're the bigger fighter and you got the better skill, use that and then worry about everything else later. But instead, you got no belt, another draw, and a fat lip. Cold world. Live streaming can be tough, which is why I use StreamYard. Click the link in the description for StreamYard, which is an awesome tool that enables you to set up your stream with ease of use. Get great results with live streaming. It's what I use. Stream to social media with ease with StreamYard. Live streaming is here to stay. Engage with your audience using StreamYard. Great way to reach out to your audience and connect. So you need a tool that can do that. If you're new to YouTube and you're struggling to get views, one tool I can provide to you is TubeBuddy. I've been on YouTube over 10 years. I use TubeBuddy daily to crank out videos just like this one that you're watching. Learn how the pros do it with TubeBuddy. YouTube receives a lot of traffic, which also means a lot of creators, a lot of people putting out content. So you need to learn the ropes so you know how to separate yourself, especially if you're new, but even if you're a pro, use TubeBuddy. The link is in the description. Get more views, more subscribers, and a higher click-through rate. So ultimately,